going to start with Arsenal. It could be a busy couple of weeks for them as we approach deadline day. We know they want to add to their squad. So, JD, where do they stand with a certain Martin Odegaard?
Well, Arsenal fans, you can smile at this moment in time because the additions seem to be building as the summer continues. And right now we know that Arsenal are in advanced talks to sign the attacking midfielder from Real Madrid. Of course, we know his loan spell at the back end of last season. He impressed clearly Mikel Arteta with not just his ability on the ball, but obviously his attitude around the training ground. And there's still work to be done on this deal, but it's thought to be worth around an initial £30 million. That could rise up to £34 million. Personal terms are not expected to be a problem, considering that obviously he spent a long part of his year in London. And at this moment in time, Arsenal probably need to get him registered before midday on Friday, because of course they play a big game on Sunday afternoon against Chelsea.
Yeah, and Kyle, Odegaard becoming a permanent Arsenal player, good fit for Arsenal.
Well, he's been there before, hasn't he? And I guess that makes life a lot easier for Mikel Arteta, because he's not having to blood in a new player, he's not having to bring in a new player. This is someone who understands the system, he knows the players, he knows the dressing room as well, and he's been at Arsenal. And if you look at that loan spell and actually having someone there with another player, you'd expect it to take a little bit more time for him to bed into the side. That isn't the case when it comes to Martin Odegaard and actually what he's managed to do. Now, it seems that he's also keen for this move to happen. It's been reported that those personal terms, they would not be a problem either. So if they were able to manage to be able to do that, well, actually, it means that everything could be plain sailing and he could come into the club. That is what you want. You don't want any hiccups. You don't want any hurdles at all. So Odegaard's arrival, well, it could be very positive for the club as a whole. When you look at Odegaard's career so far, that move to Madrid, there was so much talk around this youngster, so much pressure on this youngster. Exactly. That young age, it must have been so tough for him, and it's not really worked out there. So hopefully he could find a club, he could come to Arsenal and really play to his standard and to the standard that everyone talks about as well, and meet those expectations. Now, over the last 2 seasons, he's played 65 times, he's scored 9 and has 11 assists as well. Hopefully he can come to Arsenal and better those after that 3rd season.
Yeah, well, let's head on over to Emma, who's on the sofa for us. And Emma, Kyle said it there. Do you think this would be a positive move for Arsenal and the player?
Yeah, Joe, agree with everything Kyle said there, actually. Arsenal, of course, they already know it would be a good fit, having him, you know, second half of last season on loan there in North London. He's been their #1 target throughout the summer. James Maddison is, of course, another name who has been heavily linked with Arsenal, although, has to be said, he would be significantly more expensive, and Leicester quite simply don't need to sell any of their players during the summer window. But let's compare the two, shall we? Martin Odegaard, of course, just in the Premier League, like we said, with Arsenal for the second half of last season. Some of his stats here, because this is from the start of 2019-2020, so some of these are from La Liga when he was on loan at Real Sociedad. 11 less games, like you can see, so maybe no surprise, less goals for him. 14 for James Maddison compared to Martin Odegaard's 5, both with 8 assists. Maddison with a massive 131 chances created, and very similar with the passing accuracy as well. 86% for Martin Odegaard and 83% for James Maddison. So that's Odegaard and Maddison, but there is another creative midfielder who's been linked with Arsenal for a number of transfer windows and is trending this afternoon on Twitter. Houssam Aouar. Guys, remember him?
Yeah, we do remember him. Yeah, we do remember him. I do remember significant windows where Arsenal have been linked with the Lyon midfielder. The consistency in terms of the interest clearly shows that there's been progression there for Arsenal. We've seen the reports online, especially this afternoon, them talking about the financial problems that Lyon have been in. We haven't had any reports of that so far, but what I would turn around and say is what we can confirm from the club. You've seen Lokonga come in and how he settled in. He actually started, of course, the game. Granit Xhaka has, of course, extended his contract with the club. So you have to think to yourself, with Odegaard fitting into that 8 or that 4 role, where does he actually fit in terms of a starting position right now with Arsene Wenger's team? And then, of course, we've seen the links of Martin Odegaard, who Arsenal in advanced talks with, Emil Smith-Rowe. Like Mikel Arteta right now, I just think we're looking at, he's building a young core and he's building a lot of young players that are growing together. And it's a British spine as well on top of that. And I don't know right now how you see Houssam Aouar fitting into that team.
You were remembering the good old days there, weren't you,
Yeah,
with Arsene
you're
Wenger,
reminiscing,
right there?
yeah.
You remembering those good old days, that book? You're just trying to bring in my little book, weren't you?
I just thought, you look at it as you say, Arsene Wenger was the sort of stimulus. When he first came, you saw the British core that he sort of developed within at Arsenal. I mean, he inherited a lot of it, but he still kept those foundations. Even in their successes, you think about Sol Campbell, Ashley Cole, and a lot of other players that really understood how the club worked. Mikel Arteta, I will turn around and say, is going to take a leaf from that book and definitely try to implement that. I see Emil Smith-Rowe, Bukayo Saka, Ben White being there at this moment in time, and that really is the stimulus of people that understand how the club works.